What the heck is going on?
It began at 11:42 p.m. Friday. The sirens are supposed to warn about approaching tornadoes, but there were no tornadoes.
This is terribly freaky.
Some even feared it might be an attack coming on the heels of the U.S. missile launch. Even more frightening, the sirens were shut off and then turned back on more than a dozen times during the crazy night.
Stupid thing's going off again. Third time now.
911 was overwhelmed with more than 4,400 calls. At 1:20 a.m., officials regained control by shutting down the entire system. It looks like a hack caused the sirens to go off. Hackers believed to be from Dallas area, a city spokesperson tweeted. So who was behind it? We spoke to former FBI Special Agent Jonathan Gilliam.
Actual bad guys testing out the response capabilities and how quickly they are able to repair those types of things.
During the winter of 2028 to 2029, Dallas, New York, LA, and many other cities experienced profound hacking of municipal services, including emergency broadcasting. Since the fall of Europe in 2026, America and Canada continue to train millions of troops and integrate European soldiers into their armed forces.
I'm on next command! You're gonna exit my bus and you're gonna make your way over here onto the field! Do you understand me? Yes! Execute! Let's go! Drop it, go! Drop it, go! Drop your back and go! 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 Let's go! How many seconds do you have? 9. How many? 9. Yes, yes, yes! 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, yes, yes! You should be making a sign. And this time.
Boom, just like that.
All right, trainer, once again, if this person continues to push and this isn't working, you can't throw them down. They're actually that heavy. All you're going to do is take that hand that was protecting yourself and wrap it around the other hand behind the neck. Oh, yeah.
Same thing, Sykes, on the other side, your hospital corner.
Yes, sir, do so.
But the lack of ongoing international trade, the only real trade is with South America, has really hit our economy, and millions are unemployed and out of work, despite the government's really throwing money at anybody who will work, anybody that's able-bodied, no matter what age they are, to farm and also to do civil repair work. 150 million Americans are chronically short of food as I make this video in 2029. Pretty much everybody's short of medicine. In some places people don't have clean water, as chlorine supplies failed. The government controls most food distribution. In the States they're using charity distribution. In Canada we're using a CHIT system where you go and register with your council and you get food depending on how much you're contributing to the war effort, with everybody getting a minimal subsistence level.
How are the people lining up? We saw the line earlier, more than a mile down that road. It's just an incredible visual.
Yeah, good morning to you, Mitch. We've been out here since about 5 o'clock this morning when the first cars started to arrive. And as you can see, the line just continues to grow and grow as the morning goes on. It's a troubling thought to know these cars are full of people struggling to put food on the table.
It says it helps him so much. I called him once and I said, "Did you get anything you could use?" And he said, "Oh, Lord, Mom, I can use it all."
A few thousand people live here in Hazel Green, with about 30% of them living in poverty.
I don't think most people have any idea what is going on here.
I mean, people are not going to be sitting in their car for 6 to 7 hours for food at a food pantry if they didn't need it.
A lot of these families depend on the government for help, and then food prices are higher than they've ever been. So they literally sit in line for hours.
I pulled in here at 4 o'clock this morning. The last time we were down here, the line was all the way back to the freeway, all the way back to the parkway. That's I'd say that's close to a mile from right here. I know it is.
I started helping at the food pantry here almost from the beginning.
Oh, see, that's what happens when short girls do that. Hold on, you got tomatoes.
I have just become more aware.
Russian missile and drone attacks, coupled with the terrible lack of food, killed, they think, about 25 million Americans in the first 2 years of the war. It's fairly certain it killed about 10 million Canadians. It was the winters. No food, no heat, and it was a bad winter in 2027.
Temperatures dropping as millions of Americans go without power or heat.
How much power have you had in the last 3 days?
Okay, so that's probably like total of maybe 4 hours.
4 hours in 3 days.
4 hours in 3 days.
Enduring freezing temperatures any way they can.
We're huddled under all the blankets that we have. It's 45 in our house.
Some dangerously using cars or grills for heat, leading to deaths and injuries from carbon monoxide poisoning. Steve Rivera and his wife seeking shelter with the only neighbor they knew that had a fireplace.
She hasn't been able to eat regularly and take her medications.
More than 1 million customers are without power, a majority of them in Montreal and the Outaouais region. Hydro-Quebec tweeted these photos earlier today showing crews working overnight to restore power. They say more than 1,000 employees are in the field, including fitters and joiners, as well as tree pruners, planters, and support staff. Officials say it's difficult to determine when service will be fully restored.
This, of course, led to civil issues. By 2028, America was pretty much divided into red areas and blue areas. Thankfully, this has happened without, as yet, civil war. The red states basically operate as independent nations.
Is the federal government so unfit, states would rather split? And should Americans grieve if states want to leave? According to a new survey, 66% of Republicans and 50% of Democrats in the South would entertain the notion of secession, while 47% of the West Coast Dems back seceding compared to 27% of the GOP. In the Heartland region, that's in the middle cat, independent voters who want neighboring states to shove off.
The Lone Star State is attempting to stand alone again. The Texas Independence Referendum Act, or TXIT, was introduced this week. It would allow Texas to open up the discussion about seceding from the United States. Voters would decide if they want the Texas government to spend the time and resources determining if it's feasible to break away. And
Canada discussed separation in the early years of the war, but frankly nobody up here took it that seriously. We're actually kind of proud to be Canadian, and we're proud that we're standing firm.
I don't like rage, but I think we have to ask ourselves, why are people so angry? Like, why are people so angry? And the answer is that they're hurting. You know, it's easy for the political establishment to say, stop all your complaining. But when you're one of the 1.5 million people that went to a food bank in the month of March, it's not so easy. If you're one of the 38-year-olds living in your parents' basement because it now takes more of a monthly paycheck to own a house than at any time in recorded history, it's not so easy to be happy with the way things are going. I have never seen so much hurt and so much pain and suffering in our population in my nearly 2 decades in politics. So yes, of course, we should tell people to be more civil and to reject offensive signs, flags, and language. But we should also ask ourselves, why are people hurting so badly?
On a sunny Sunday in Calgary, Alberta's separatists are on the move and on the hunt for signatures. Their pitch is simple. Alberta doesn't get a fair deal financially or politically in Confederation, and it's time to get out.
We're essentially governed by Central Canada, and that will never, ever change unless we declare our sovereignty.
But on this day, not everyone who signs seems set on sovereignty.
These guys are at least interested in looking at the possibility of Alberta separating from Canada, right? Like being its own country. What do you think about that?
Is that what it is? Oh, I did not hear that part of it.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought it's
I did not hear that part of it.
One strange moment after the first terrible winter in 2027 was when the Chinese news organization started putting out stuff like this. This was really shortly before they were banned.
The U.S. should merge with Canada for strategic and security reasons and become the world's biggest political, geographical, and economic superpower.
Well, I think it's partly defense and partly offense. I think that state capitalism as a model that China and Russia and other countries practice is very effective. I think we have to get organized and get stronger and bigger.
But the idea of shutting America down as an organization and just becoming bigger Canada, and then you'd have peace with Russia, obviously appealed to the Chinese mentality at the time. But there was no takers on that idea up here, except for a bunch of right-wingers, and frankly most of them are now in jail. Homelessness continues to be a severe problem. Despite the depopulation and the starvation and the cold and the lack of healthcare that push the population really downwards. In normal times there's plenty of housing now. In fact, the streets are often empty. But we built lots of homes and lots of condominiums, none of which can be heated with a wood fire. And frankly, the electricity grid where it exists is very, very fragile, especially with the constant Russian attacks by air, and also on the west coast, the Chinese attacks occasionally. Here I still have my solar system, and I have my wood furnace, and where pretty much life is normal for us. It hasn't really changed in terms of utilities. Food's been a big problem, but we've converted pretty much everything to gardening, and it's not so bad. The only real work available is for the government, and pretty much everybody works for the government in some form or other. That's the only way to get food, and the Canadian dollar, if you can use it anyway, because most people don't want to take paper money anymore, and the severe Russian hacking has put paid to any use of electronic payment. We're still getting a pension, but it's pretty much feeble.
There are more than 1,000 unsheltered people living on the streets of an encampment just a little bit east of the state capital, known as the Zone. It's less than a mile from the state capital.
And it wants to find housing for 1,500 people within the next year. This week, organizers told 11 Alive they'd helped 19 people so far to find housing or get ready to move. Another 117 people have been placed in hotel rooms. Still, you don't have to drive around for long to see signs of homelessness.
I'd heard of The Hill, a large encampment tucked in the trees near Cheshire Bridge in Atlanta. But this was my first time visiting.
This is pretty much just where I keep my dishes and where I wash my dishes at.
One of the residents, Brandon, gave me a tour of his home, a compilation of tents and items salvaged from nearby dumpsters.
These halls look like they're in a building that has been abandoned for months or years.
So this bathroom doesn't work at all. Since we have lived here, I lived here like 4 years. Can't drink the water. I drank the water once, got giardia, deadly sick. So they can't drink the water from here at all.
So how long has it been there without a bathroom?
Over a year. Over a year.
Stewart says after a difficult divorce, he could only afford the $700 he's paid for this room. A year ago, his girlfriend Michaela moved down here to be with him. They stopped paying rent several months ago once the bathrooms stopped working.
I'm shocked every day, every single day at the stuff people live through or have been through.
Not bad people, this is a bad situation.
All our economies are dependent on the state, as are most legal jobs. And you have to work for the state to have a legal job and to get food. Of course, there's quite a thriving section of the population that's working illegally, trading sex and drugs, who are doing pretty much okay. But they have to be very careful, because if they show wealth, people report them.
Toronto, very hard. Stores are closed. Store is closed. Restaurant is closed. Closed.
Once a crown jewel for retail shopping, tonight the Westfield San Francisco Center is pulling the plug on its famed downtown mall. The stunning decision to walk away, given the challenging operating conditions in downtown San Francisco, which have led to declines in sales, occupancy, and foot traffic, we have made the difficult decision to transfer management. As other cities like Chicago and Portland deal with major retail closures, the mall's demise in San Francisco comes just weeks after Nordstrom announced its exit from the city center. With nearly half of the stores set to soon be vacant, the future of those still operating is unclear as the nearby Gap shutters and Old Navy plans to soon close.
Our military keeps expanding, keeps training, and keeps moving bases en masse on a regular basis to try and avoid being hit by Russian missiles. But our air war is costly.
Box 1. Box 2. Last one. Nice. Box 2. Oh, fuck.
Military innovation remains very much well funded by the government, but most of the projects are small and low key. Cool. Taiwan, of course, no longer exports semiconductor chips to North America, now it's part of China. And South Korea and Japan do what they can, but again, the shipping attacks mean we get very few processors sent. We have been flying them across as much as we can. So there's been a big drive to hand in electronic devices with chips in to the government so they can reuse them for military applications. I don't actually buy that they can be reused, but I do know we're having massive efforts to try and build our own semiconductor industry, and it's really difficult. Days of getting a new camera or a new cell phone or a new TV or anything with a chip in it are long gone.
A shortage of computer chips known as semiconductors delayed the production of almost everything electronic.
Now that shortage is coming to an end, but tech experts say there's a lack of skilled workers to actually make these chips.
Yeah, that's right. And it's because we interact with semiconductors every day. They're in our phones, televisions, cars, and more. But the people who produce them, as you said before, they are just not enough workers to meet demand.
These are old printers, computers, and phones, and this machine's shredding them to be recycled. Only about 17% of all electronic waste ends up like this.
It's very hard to recycle electronics. They're not designed to be recycled.
There are hundreds of tiny pieces hidden in every device, from toxic materials to plastic to gold, and they each have to be separated and recycled individually. Such precision takes lots of people, space, and heavy-duty machines.
The circuit boards that are inside nearly every electronic device. Workers process it by hand at illegal dump sites.
Thanks for watching. This is a work of fiction, as you can probably guess. Hopefully this will never happen. I really hope it doesn't. It's speculative. It's just to get you thinking about some of the necessities of life. We're all connected by invisible chains. When the Port of Vancouver went on strike for 2 weeks, my area, which is over 1,000 kilometres away from Vancouver, ran out of water softening salt. I never thought that water softening salt would be a vulnerability. Give it 4 or 5 years and my pipes will be useless. It's something I now have to start storing en masse. Never thought about it, never realised that. So thanks for watching, and next week the invasion starts. Be braced for this. It's going to be rough. Toodles again.
And thanks to everybody. I'm really glad to be with you. I know you're covering the situation in Europe closely.
Normal programming has been interrupted at the request of the U.S. government.
Ballistic missile threat inbound. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. Did you guys get that? Holy shit. Oh my god. What do we do?
Did you just get what I just got on my phone? I don't know what to do. This is crazy. There's absolutely no way this is real. Oh my, people are running? That was when everyone realized it wasn't just their phone or just like some little prank happening. It was like everyone was getting this.
I just saw a group of people running down the street crying, and they all had their phones up to their head. So everybody that has a phone got the message. I hope the fucking military has their shit together.
A missile may impact on land or sea within minutes. This is not a drill.
Okay, a big explosion has just occurred. Everyone is running from the entire financial district now. The smoke is filling the entire area. Let's go. Come on, go, Brad, go. Stop shooting, Brad, go.
I hope I live. I hope I live. It's coming down on me. Here it comes. I'm getting behind a car. It's
Incredible. Okay, I'm gonna have to go find people who need help. 'Cause I don't think I'm one of them. You okay, sir? Okay. Can I just get a toot off your respirator? Can I get a toot? I'm just getting a couple of clean breaths. That's good. Okay.
This video was brought to you from Wolfie Productions 2023 in Gatineau near Ottawa, and Wolfie is ready.